Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Tale of Two Sisters. I am joined by my sister. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So, for today's episode, and we're not exactly sure how this is going to go, but Jessica and I both kind of wanted to talk about what it's like to go through a grieving process. Maybe like how do you reconcile a traumatic experience, and how do you move with your family when a loved one is facing a terminal illness. So right now, Jessica and I both have a very close family member that has stage 4 cancer, which is a terminal illness. And, obviously they're doing everything that they can to fight this disease and whatnot, but it's very stressful and it's very sad and it's very overwhelming. And it's be a year in November that this person unfortunately was diagnosed with this terminal illness. So, and like I said, we're going to see where this goes because this is kind of like it's a touchy situation and we obviously have a lot of feelings involved with this. So, I'm going to send it to you, Jessica, and maybe she's like, "No, you're not." And it's like, and we both want to have an open dialogue. How do we manage, we're both in our 40s, and we have our own family and we have our own, like, what's going on. And it's hard because this is an immediate family member, a core to our family, that has a terminal illness. And yes, we are hopeful that they will pull through, but we're not exactly sure if they will. So let me get maybe some of your feelings and some of your thoughts, Jessica, in having a family member that has a terminal illness, and how do you kind of reconcile how you feel in your heart?
I think for me, a lot of the way I respond to things that are stressful or overwhelming or very emotional seems to be informed from my childhood. And Rachel and I both have been accused of being cold or icy at times. Let's just throw it out there. I'm assuming that that is informed from our childhood and childhood trauma and our experiences and how we coped with that. Aside from religious aspects, I feel like that's always something that's in the room with us is
Mm-hmm.
just how we treated things or were treated as, younger people and how we've internalized that and how we move forward in the world with those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to religion and stressful situations, especially one wrapped up with the idea of death, I feel like it takes on a different kind of weight.
Yeah.
And for me, it always seemed to be linked with religion because this family member is very much into prayer and to going to church and asking everyone to do, prayer circle for them or pray for them. And it always felt like this hope was brought to her through praying. And where my point of view kind of comes in, and where it feels like if you believe in God, do you think that there would be a God who would bring such pain? It seems that instant butting of heads of this idea that this is all loving, but then I'm going to cause you irreparable harm for your life and the life of everyone that you love.
Mm-hmm.
The loss of this person will irrevocably damage our family structure for the rest of our lives. It will never be the same and it will never be as good. So that being said, it is really difficult to have to face the reality. But again, going back to the way that we are as a family, I don't feel like we're really that family that really dives in and gets into those emotions and it's okay to cry. And I know a couple of times I was the one who broke down and was crying in the kitchen saying this was terrible. And everyone's like, why are you crying? And I'm like, well, this really sucks. And I would rather stew and sit in it and
Yeah.
cry and say I love you and I'm really sorry for it. But that seems to be more of my emotional response to things. And I don't know how I handle it when it comes to religion because it feels like it's not there. Because the praying feels like I'm wishing you well and I'm sending you good luck and good wishes. And it doesn't change the fact that this person is dying and she's dying in front of us. And every time you see them, they look different than they were before. And the religion doesn't make me want to go to religion. It doesn't make me want to pray. It doesn't make me want to go to church. It makes me want to scream and to cry and to wonder why this is something that we're dealing with such a young person and someone we love and means so much in our lives. But I do try to find that silver lining. And it did remind me that I took this person for, advantage of them, not advantage of them, but I took them for granted. I took their role in my life for granted. And I would say on a positive note, it made me stop doing that, and it made me want to spend as much time as I could with this person before it's too late.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of valid points. You know, Jessica and I, like, we definitely had a not an easy childhood. And we, you know, had a family that was very toxic, and there's a lot of angst that went on for a lot of years. And that can be a conversation another time. And I think that the way that we process things, one, we're both very results oriented. So it's like, okay, you're going through this. How can I help you? And in this instance, we're almost powerless. You know, we can try to help ease pain, ease suffering, and like you said, just be there for this person. Um, I think there's layers to our family and how open we are with our emotions and our feelings. Like Jessica and I are super close. So I would say I'm very like, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. And, you know, we'll work through that together. But when we come to our outside of our just us in our little
Mm-hmm.
bubble, it is very much swept underneath the carpet. And, you know, and it's Jessica and I both are feeling of, okay, we need to have some difficult conversations. And what are wishes and what are desires and what are your hopes. And you know, it's hard when we don't quite have permission to engage in these conversations. And hopefully as time progresses we'll be able to have them, because nobody wants to not be prepared for a loved one passing away, or you know, if there's a traumatic situation, maybe a car accident or something like that, and be like, and you're left with, you're holding the bag almost, you know. And I think it's really important, religion aside, that people have conversations, you know, in times when people are somewhat healthy of their mind, that they can have those like, okay, this is what I want to be cremated. I mean, it's even as simple as, what do you want to do? Where do you want people to celebrate you? Do you want to have like a party? Like, do you even want to have a funeral? You know, I don't necessarily even want to have a funeral, to be quite honest. Like, I don't want people to suffer and be sad. We're all going to grieve in our own ways. And I will say with this person, and how I have moments where I get really, really sad, and I feel very much like devastated, you know, because they've been in our life a long time, over 35 years. Is that too long? No, maybe not that long. 30 years.
A really long
A
time.
really long time, since the dawn of time. No,
Right? It
and
might as well
they've
be
been
forever.
a powerful force in our life.
Yeah.
And you know, they've been very positive and very loving. And you know, we've had our ups and downs, of course, but it's, you know, it's been somebody who's made sure that the family has stayed together. And I think for both of us, it's like, well, what happens when that glue is gone? Like, then what? Then, and I think that's also something that makes me sad, because I'm like, and I'm not wishing ill or anything like that. I definitely, like, when I'm praying for a miracle. I'm praying to God, like, please bring upon a miracle and things of that nature. And I do, and it's more of my spiritual beliefs than it is my religious beliefs, you know, to kind of God's angels, universe, just, and even just to bring people peace and to bring them comfort. So that I do feel comfort and relying on that. But sorry, I was long winded and I got a little lost there. But I have these, I'm going back to where was I? See, it's almost so overwhelming that it makes me not even know what to say, because and part of me, because I'm a nurse, have been able to facilitate scheduling appointments and doing this and doing that and interpreting things and whatnot. But then it's like, when they don't need you, it's like, well, then what do I do? What's my role? Like,
Yeah.
oh, just to be present. And then, you know, some people don't like that. Some people don't want people hovering around them, and you know, they want to treat you just like a normal person. Like, hey, what's going on? Like, how you feeling? And I'm sure not every single conversation wants to be, how are you feeling?
Right.
What's going
That would get
on?
tedious. Yeah.
It's difficult. And then I think the times where I'm in mourning of, you know, what's to come or hopefully not to come, is when is in the car when I'm by myself. And then I'm talking to my spiritual team, and I'm crying. It's a very, very sad thing. It's very, very sad. And that's the only way to put it. Like, I just feel very sad.
Yeah, I think mine is at certain moments. We had a get together recently, and I teared up in the middle of it, thinking that this person had made it intentionally. It felt like they were trying to make a memory and were trying to
Yeah.
say that they loved you through that memory.
Yeah.
And it meant a lot, and I will always remember it, and it is those little things that I feel like we don't acknowledge the effort that
Yeah.
this person is sick, but they're still trying to make your existence okay. And I think that's what I keep thinking when it comes to the roles of the people that are in our lives and have control over our future path. The
Mm-hmm.
other person that is integral to this situation isn't giving us permission to discuss the other paths, to be
Yeah.
able to acknowledge that this is terrible right now, and we're not eliminating the pain or the reality or the joy or the memories of right now, but there is going to be a what's next. And
Yeah.
because we are results oriented people, and to acknowledge who we are in a family unit, it needs to be acceptable for us to discuss more, because that's what we need. And in their roles, I would hope that they could acknowledge that that's something that would bring us comfort. And maybe it's the religion or lack of religion thing for me, but I don't feel uncomfortable at all discussing after, when you pass things you want. Like, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. It doesn't feel disrespectful or rude. It just feels like it's the next step. It's the next thing that you're going to go through for you and for others. And for me, I know what I want, and
Yeah.
I want everyone around me to know. And I would hope people would find comfort in that, but I know that's that finality, and that's intimidating and scary. And it would be wonderful to be able to share that moment together
Mm-hmm.
and to discuss it, and then it's out, and it's done, and you can move on to the next.
And I really do feel like a society, especially in the United States, I think that there is this almost, we don't talk about death and dying. We're always trying to live as long as we can, be, age in reverse. And, there's such a fixation on being young and not really discussing on, okay, I'm aging, and this is what's coming. It's real. We're all going to die. Like, there's going to be a time where we're going to take our last breath and we're not going to be here any longer. And I guess what I always feel like is nobody should be shocked and surprised about what your wishes are and your desires are. And I mean, to me, I would feel terrible leaving that burden on my family to oh my god, what are their wishes, what do they want? Let's talk about, like, Jessica and I, we may not be as Jessica and I are sentimental about different things, and about, like, and I love that we both have kind of like, well, this is what I really care about, and this is what she really cares about. And then if we drill it down to our kids are also the same way. They're sentimental and they may not be as sentimental. Like, I know for my older son, and this is actually, I had this whole entire, like, thought process last week. I'm like, okay, when I pass, because Jessica and I both want to be buried in tree pods, and Jessica's gonna be a book box, and I'm gonna be the tree over her.
Yeah, like we have to be like a group. And then but to before I forget, I wanted to tell you this anyways, but I
Sure.
wanted, like, for the ceremony portion, like, I do want it to be where we're just surrounded, like, even if it's in a living room or a backyard, but not
Yeah,
creepy backyard. And then it's like you shroud them in a blanket, and then you cover them in flowers, and then
that'd
they
be so
just, like,
nice.
either just put you in the ground or put you into a tree pod. And it just, to me, that when I was thinking it, I was like, this feels so spiritual to
It
me.
is.
It's
It's
like,
very it's bringing you back
yeah,
to Mother Earth.
yes, yes.
It's
And I
bringing
love
you
that.
back to Mother Earth, and it is,
Yep.
in essence, it's almost shamanic kind of
Mm-hmm.
practice. And for you, maybe you relate it back to Native American culture. Like, it just, and it doesn't have to be spiritual. It's maybe honoring your ancestors and what they did before you. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I back to my son, I know that Tyler is very sentimental. So I could see him wanting to have a
He's
piece
gonna
of
play
jewelry.
music.
Like, I
Yeah.
could see him wanting a piece of jewelry. Brayton, on the other hand, is not very sentimental. And I could
He'll
just see
throw
him,
it in the he'll throw it in the tree pod
yeah,
with
I'm
you.
like,
Mom, why do
thanks,
I want
but
this?
bye. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
but we have to respect, and I also don't want anyone to feel like Jessica and I, and we've said this a couple times now, we're because of our childhood, we are maybe not, maybe we don't emote as much as people would like. We can be very, like, serious, I feel like, but when it comes to tragedy and tragic things, it's like all hands on deck. And what does this
Yeah, get to
person
the
need?
point.
Get to the
Yeah.
point, and what does
Yeah.
this person need? And how can I support those around me getting through this?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, and just maybe I should ask you this, like, I feel like grieving for me is a personal thing. And I think it's also almost private. Like, I don't need to have, like, when something happens, I'll go to you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to post on Facebook, and I don't need it to be on public display.
No,
And if other people feel comfortable doing that, then
yeah.
that's okay. But I personally don't feel comfortable with putting all of my business out and
I don't
about.
want that attention.
I don't either.
I don't want that attention. And then, and it may reflect on whatever, and you can psychologist all you want. But for me, if I get really upset, my husband will like want to come hug me, which is so nice and all, but I'm generally like, I just need a minute and
It's
I
like, just
will
take a
let you know
break.
what I need. I just need a minute. But I do think I could be better at grieving more effectively, because I know when our brother passed away, it felt just numb and cold.
Yeah.
But I felt more sentimental or more emotional when our grandmother passed away.
Yes.
And I feel like I think about her every other day still, and she's been
Yeah.
gone for longer than my daughter was alive. So,
Yeah.
she's in my dream the other day. I mean, they're never
And
really
for us
far.
spiritual people would say that that's her spirit coming to visit you, my sister.
It was nice. I liked it. I mean, come all the time you want, Grandma. I love thinking about you. I really do. That gives me comfort, and I might not find comfort in religion, but I do feel comfort in the memories that you have with people that you love.
Yeah. And it's a and I, you know, blah, blah, blah. And to maybe bring up our brother. Our brother committed suicide, and it's been I think 6-7 years. And when that
Yes,
happens,
Evan.
it
Yeah.
really puts a, a an anchor on our family, a very heavy weight. And it was very interesting to see, not interesting, it was an experience
It
to
was eye
see.
opening.
It was
Yeah.
eye-opening to see how people handled levels of grief.
Right.
And it did feel very, and I don't know about if other people have ever experienced this, but it's almost like some people are entitled to grieve and some people aren't. And I
Right. Your
thought that,
ranking comes up. It felt like your
yeah, it
ranking
was
was
very
brought up.
much like, yeah, that's interesting. That's a good way to put it, your ranking. And it did feel like very tiered. And yeah, it's a good point. That's a good way to put it. And that was a tough experience to go through. Yeah. I don't want to laugh, but it was a tough, I'm stumbling. Like, it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff because, like, it's not easy.
It's
But
not, no, it's not comfortable. I think the biggest thing is that the reason that we're saying it was a ranking is he was our stepbrother. So then it was the assumption that we were second to the blood relatives, even though we were in his life, the majority of his life, but we were still second class citizens when it came to our level of grief allowed.
yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And I think it's beautiful that you still think about grandma. Think about both our grandmas. Probably like like very frequently. I do think about both of them, and it's interesting because I'll get a whiff of like grandma, and I'm like, hi, grandma.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so my husband, he has a nice groomed beard, so he uses lots of products. And the other day he had one on, and it smelled like grandma's house. And then he was like, "What is the? What are you smelling me for?" And then
Oh no, we've lost Jessica. This is what happens when the spirit starts to come in. It's very interesting, and the energy starts to shift. She may not believe that, but I do. Oh, there she is. I was.
yay!
So you were sniffing Mike's beard.
Yeah, yeah. And it smelled like our grandparents' house.
Did it smell like her bathroom and her back bedroom?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
her bathroom. And
Yeah.
then speaking of other grandmas and not feeling uncomfortable with death, our other grandmother, our dad's mother, she had no problem. She had already like picked her plot. She
Yes.
already picked out the outfit she wanted to be
Yes.
buried in, and it was like so detailed. It almost felt like, wow, that was a lot. But then I appreciate it now. Like, this is the
Yeah.
songs, this is the hymns, this is where I want, and
I mean, I personally
deviate
want to
be
have a
damned.
binder. I want to have a binder together, and
Oh my gosh, you're gonna laminate it.
I probably will. And I want things ready to go. I really
Yeah.
do. And And I love the fact that you honor the family by, honoring the memories of them, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think the biggest thing that we want to, take from this episode is that we understand that people are going through grieving processes and maybe having traumatic experiences in their lives. And, one thing I just want to say to people, from my perspective, you're not alone, and that you are supported by the unknown, by spirit divine. And for those that maybe not believe in it, there are resources out there that you can get to help you through this process, such as hospice does offer free counseling. You can go to free support sessions, and, there are definitely resources out there to help you manage your grieving process. And it's going to be interesting. And I definitely think we will keep the listeners, updated on maybe what's going on and what the outcome is. Cause we're hoping for a miracle, which would be amazing. And oh my gosh, so cool. And then I think about the spiritual aspect, and maybe what some other people might say was like, well, did you attract that in your life? And I don't believe that. I want to make that very clear. But there are some people, your thoughts create your reality, and you bring on situations. And I think sometimes I think it's a terrible viewpoint in life,
Yeah.
and it's like people get so like caught up in that kind of
It reminds me of
spiritual
like
law.
Catholic. That almost feels like Catholic guilt, where everything you
That
do, you feel
too.
like there's going to be a
Sin.
consequence to it,
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
can't just live your life and hope to just be a good person. And if you make a mistake at that, accept it, move on, learn from it, because that's what we are
Listen,
as people,
I'm gonna
right?
be paying my way into heaven. Hello, I'm buying trinkets now. I'm just kidding. I'm
You
just
can just
kidding.
buy extra for me just in case.
Hello. Anything else, Jessica, you want to add
Knock on
about
the
our
door.
kind of our elephant in the room conversation?
Yes, that is my least favorite trait. From experience, it's just better to jump in and tell people that you love them,
Yeah, oh
even if
yeah,
it makes them sad. Tell them that you're sad they're going through something. Tell them that you're here for them. You
yeah,
don't always have to be like, "How are you doing? How are you doing?" It's okay for them to have a bad day, and you
yeah.
just be there to listen. And as someone who may not grieve in the way that people think I should, please be accepting of that also. I'm
For
still a
all
person.
aspects of
Yep.
grieving.
And I just may not do it the way that you expect. But do I ever do it the way you expect?
No.
Not really.
And I
No.
think Jessica brings up a very valid point. Don't wait to tell someone you love them. Don't wait to say like, "Hey, I love you," even to your friends. You're a great friend to me. Like, I think you're wonderful. I think you're an amazing sister. I love you to pieces. Like, I think it's really important to say how we're feeling about things. And maybe it's a negative thing. Maybe it's time to move somebody on in your life. That's bringing you down. Like, it's time, like, reevaluate what's going on, the people that you surround yourself with, and are they a positive force or are they a negative force? And maybe some people you need to cut out, and maybe some people you need to remind them, like, hey, I love you and I'm here.
And I'm thinking about you. Something as
Thinking
simple
about
as
you.
that. I was thinking about you. And
It's very
when I think about you, it
important.
makes me smile. And I feel like, I'm always looking for connections. And I feel like sometimes I put myself out there a little bit too much. But I'd rather put myself too much and people ignore me than to
You
not put
my
myself
social
out there.
butterfly sister.
Yeah, I like people. People are awesome.
And this is how
Woo!
Jessica and I are so different. My sister is so social, and I'm so like, I just want to be home.
I don't like being in my house doing nothing. Like right now, none of my kids wanted to do anything because I over socialized them yesterday. They're like, "Don't talk to me today, mom." So then I took all the cabinet doors off in the kitchen. So I'm gonna
Oh my
re
God.
refinish them.
Why am I not surprised?
This looks so good.
Oh, Lord. Well, on
I'm
that
excited.
note, Jessica, you have a great evening. Thank you
Peace,
all.
love, and happiness.
Oh my God. And
I love
everyone,
you forever. Go watch Barbie.
I'm going to see that on Thursday. All right, everyone, have a great night. Bye.
Happy almost birthday.
Thank you.